Torah, 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 Torah. Oh, hello, boys and girls. It is me, the Torah, here in Perek Chaf Aleph, chapter 21, to teach you that after God gave the Torah, the first thing He taught was the laws called Mishpatim. What are Mishpatim, you may ask? Well, Mishpatim are laws between man and his fellow, or woman and her fellow, actually. Laws between one person and the other, how we treat each other. Those are Mishpatim. Now, why did God give those right after He revealed Himself at Har Sinai? Well, the message here is that God wants us to know that the most important thing to be a Jewish person is how we treat each other. That is the message of the Torah. The Torah wants everybody to treat each other honestly, ethically, and respectfully. And that is why the first laws after the giving of the Torah were the laws called Mishpatim. Well, there are a lot of laws in Perek Chaf Aleph, so I'm not going to be able to get into them in detail, but a quick overview, boys and girls, a quick overview. The first law is the law of the Eved Ivri. That's right, the Eved Ivri. Let me type it out for you. Eved Ivri. Now, what exactly is an Eved Ivri? An Eved Ivri is a Jewish slave. Now, why is there a Jewish slave? Well, it goes like this, guys. An Eved Ivri was a person who stole. And because they didn't have the money to pay back, if you steal normally, you just have to pay back the money that you stole. However, an Eved Ivri is a slave that is sold because he went to court and he could not pay back for what he stole. So the law of the Torah is that they have to work for up to 7 years, 6 years specifically, and the 7th year they go free. And that will pay back for the money they stole. Now, the owner has obligations. He has to treat that slave as good as himself, feed him just as much as himself, and give him a nice place to sleep and take care of his family. And what happens if that slave really wants to stay after the 6 years? Well, we put a hole in his ear in the court. Why? Why would we do that? To remind him that his ears heard that when God gave the Torah on Mount Sinai, He told us, do not steal, and He told us that we are His servants, and he forgot, and he stole, and he became a servant to somebody else. When the owner sends him away, it's a mitzvah to send him away with a lot of gifts to help him start his life once again. Well, the next law in the Parsha, Perek Chaf Aleph, is the law of an Amma Ivriya. Let me type that out for you. Amma Ivriya. And the Amma Ivriya is a Jewish girl who is actually sold also. How could that be? It sounds terrible. Well, in this case, it's not for stealing. If a parent, a father, did not have enough money to support his daughter, he has no choice and decides to sell her to someone as a servant so that she can work and earn money and support herself. Well, the law is that the Torah commands the owner not to keep her as a slave. If she's of close age, she can be married to him, or if he has a son, he could marry her son. And if not, he has to treat her nicely until she becomes old enough to make her own decisions, like bat mitzvah. Then she can go free on her own. And that is the law of Amma Ivriya. Now, what about death penalties? In this Perek, we learn about different types of death penalty. Looks very scary. The Torah actually has 4 death penalties, and these are very extreme for very terrible crimes. However, it was very rare to get a death penalty. Only if somebody was so crazy that they were warned by 2 witnesses, hey, don't do this terrible crime. If you do, you'll get a death penalty. And the person did not care, and they went and did it anyway. That is when they would get a death penalty. And the types of things that one would get a death penalty for would be killing, murdering somebody, would be striking a parent and making the parent bleed, cursing the parent, Of course, these are all things that if they would not get a death penalty unless they were warned by two witnesses and actually were crazy enough to say, I don't care about a death penalty, and did it anyway. And kidnapping someone and selling them, these are some examples of a death penalty. Now, by the way, if somebody actually killed somebody accidentally, well, in that case, they would have to run away to a city called the Ir Miklat, a city of refuge. And they would not be killed, but they had to run away because if somebody wanted to get revenge against them for killing their relative, they would be protected in this city called the Ir Miklat, the city of refuge, by the Levi'im who lived there. And they had to stay there until the Kohen Gadol of the generation died. And when the Kohen Gadol died, they would be forgiven for having killed someone accidentally, and they could come home. And that is the law if someone kills someone on purpose or by accident. But what happens if someone kills a slave or injures a slave? Well, guess what? The Torah says slaves have rights too. And if you kill or injure a slave, either you could get the death penalty, or if you knock out a slave's limb, tooth or eye or any body part that you break, the slave can go free. And if you hurt someone else's slave, you'll have to pay the damage to the master. Now, these are other laws. If you cause damage to somebody else, like if you hurt them, the Bet Din will calculate how much money you caused them to lose, how much damages that you made them pay. Like if you hurt them and they had to go to bed and they couldn't go to work for a week, you have to pay them for their loss of work. And then you have to pay them for the doctors, and you have to pay them for the embarrassment they suffered, etc., etc. Now, what about if it wasn't you? What about if your animal hurt somebody else? Guess what? You are responsible. You have to pay. The first time your animal violently attacks somebody, we assume that you didn't know that would happen, so you only pay half. But if it happened that an animal killed somebody, well, your animal needs to go and get killed itself for killing someone because it's dangerous. If your animal kills somebody more than once and you didn't do anything about it, that's a really bad thing, and the owner of the animal is guilty that heaven will punish them with death themselves. Now, what happens if they had an animal that injured somebody 3 times and they did not guard it? Well, you've got to pay full price for all injuries that your animal did. Now, what about if you yourself did not damage, your animal did not damage, but you still caused damage? How could that be, you ask? Well, look at this picture here. If you dug a pit and left it open and somebody fell in or some animal fell in, you didn't damage, your animal didn't damage, but your objects damaged. Your actions caused something to happen. And therefore, you have to pay, either if you made a pit or you left a banana peel or glass on the floor or something that's dangerous to the public, you have to pay back. That's right. And finally, the last law I'll tell you about today is stealing. If you steal, you have to pay back, of course. And if someone is caught stealing, they have to pay back double as a penalty. So they should not do it again. In the Torah, that is how the thief learns not to do it again. Now, there is some cases where a thief has to pay as many as 4 and 5 times what they stole. Big penalty. And those are for cattle or sheep thieves. If a thief steals a sheep and slaughters it or sells it, that thief, if they catch him because he did such a crime and tried to hide it and get rid of it, we charge him 4 times for a sheep. If he did the same thing to a cow, a bull, a cattle, he has to pay 5 times the amount. And hopefully that will teach them not to steal people's sheep and cattle. And those, in short, are the laws of Perek Chaf Aleph. Thank you very much for watching. And Torah, wait. What about the nuts? What about the nuts? It's chapter nut. Oh yeah, I mean, what does this have to do with chapter nut? Well, you see, the N is really a 2 flipped on its side, and the T has a hidden 1 inside. Oh, very nice, but what does it have to do with nuts? Well, you would have to be nuts to kill people, and you'd have to be nuts to steal and be sold as a slave. So it's a chapter about nuts, about nutty people that kill people, and about slaves, and about people who mistreat people, and the punishment for all these nuts is they get stoned with nuts. I don't think that's what really happens, but if it helps you remember the story, no problem. That's fine with me. Well, have a good night, all you nuts. Thank you for watching.